Hey everyone, Luke here. So, I think we all know what I'm thinking right now. So yeah, in case you didn't get it, I called it. I called it. Like, all those weeks ago when I was saying, like, oh, Momo's probably going to get control of Kengo because obviously Kengo's going into Shinso's mind. So it's possible that Momo can work the other way to get Kengo under his control. And yeah, it seems like we are going that way, guys. So let's just dive right into it right now. So this is chapter 152 titled Smarts. And pretty smart move on your part, Momo, for that. Like, even though it was kind of obvious that I think a lot of people could have predicted coming. I'm probably not the first one that when we first saw Kengo trying to get into Shinso's mind, like, oh yeah, Momo's definitely going to take over because it's such an obvious opportunity at that point. It's basically like in Full Metal Alchemist where you had Greed trying to take Father for himself, and then it's like, Greed, I can do the same thing to you, and it's just like this back and forth between them. But anyway, let's just get into it. So it starts off basically from the end of last shots where Kengo is just like, okay, Shinso, I've got you now. You're going to come back to us. Come back to us. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more, and he'll be back to his own self. That's it, Shinzo. Keep it up. But as he's doing this, we see the black visage is fizzling up and overgrowth in the memories, which is a nice detail. As we see, basically the image that you see in the thumbnail for this video, and also the image I just showed, where you have just Momo's eyes and just like his silhouette, just like gazing down on Kengo. It's like, whoa, that is some freaky stuff right there. As Kengo's just like, what is going on here? This is not what we anticipated. And Mo was just like, yes, Kengo, of course you didn't anticipate this. Your blooming is very impressive, but you seem to forget that I am in control of Shinsu's mind right now. I've got him brainwashed, and you're trying to come into his mind to take him. You seem to have forgotten that the fact that I can basically do the same thing now. Now that you have basically invited yourself into the Hornet's Nest, as it were, the Hornet Queen, or I guess king in this place, can go completely after you, and you're not the only one who can enter people's minds. So it makes me feel like, how is this actually going to work with some of the others? Like, are they going to get like Shinzo and Futaba back only to lose Kengo, Nanano, and Shion? That is something that I think would actually that's something I think would actually be able to bring in the gold rank spies again into a fight, because you would have Kengo's tutor going after them, and also there was someone else. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting like something else. Like, I'm sure Pie Jams will bring it up. Like the other Go Rank spies that have a connection with the other yeah, Ginga. That was it, Ginga. I knew it. Lord Ginga might actually have a thing where they go after Shion if they ever got caught. So yeah, that's who I was thinking of. But anyway, so Keigo's just like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a problem here, and I'm running out of breath because he seems to be so inclined to be like, okay, I've got to get Shinzo back, that he completely forgotten at that moment in time that he was actually underwater, and it's like, okay, yeah, we can't hold our breath any longer. So Tayu just shoots them all up guys out of the water as he's trying to get Kengo to like, okay, Kengo, speak to me now. What is going on here? And Kengo's like, just don't talk to me, Tayo. I don't know how he's doing this, but that's getting in the way. I'm doing all I can to assist him. So yeah, Kengo, like I said, he's not the most mentally stable of the Yozakura siblings. So if there's one Yozakura sibling that is going to be taken next, it's going to be Kengo. So we continue on with Kengo saying, at this rate, I'm not getting anywhere, and someone has to do something about Dad. So yeah, he's like, I'm trying to assist him here, but he's way too strong for me. So can you guys do something about it? And Kyorichio's just like, oh, okay, you've secured Shinzo, so that's great. Now you can leave the rest to us. So I basically say like, move over the side. We're gonna take on our battle now. So we're moving on to Nana now, Shion and Kyorichio versus Futaba. And Kyorichio's just like, you hear that, Futaba? I've got some business to do with our dad, so I'm only gonna say this once. You better move. But of course, Futaba being Futaba, it's just like, move for you, Kyorichio, in your dreams. So we're actually getting into the fight. This is more of a battle chapter. So there's not really a lot of dialogue going on here. I think the only important thing now to keep in mind is that Momo is in the minds of both Shinzo and Futaba. Like if he can get into the minds of them two, and I don't think it's going to go the same way with Futaba. They're going to have to figure out a different way, because this will just be repeating what has happened. And since they actually know, like, okay, if we try to get into Futaba's mind, Momo's just going to come afterwards because he's that strong, and it's more than likely that would be the case. So we have to figure out another way or another tactic to get Futaba back under our control. But that's for later. We're just moving into the battle right now as we see. Kyorichio using his steel spider. It's kind of hard to say. Like, I assume it's a steel spider. Yeah, it's a steel spider to create. It's a steel spider. Sorry, it's a bit confusing for me personally, but it's a steel spider, and he uses this to create these giant tentacle, venomous, tentacular type things that are surrounding Futaba, who doesn't seem phased in the slightest. Like, she uses her kinetic energy to whirl around a circle. It's steel spider. That's the tentacle thing. So, and Futaba's using her kinetic energy to create a disc-like weapon around her, which she I see what she's doing here. So she's using her kinetic energy to create rings that are basically being used as like a magnet that she uses to pull the steel spider together. So it's pretty interesting how Futaba has the perfect counter to Kyorichio's steel spider, considering it's made of metal, and her whole deal is like her kinetic energy becomes like magnesium or magnetized. So perfect counter to get around Kyorichio, as she uses it to, like I said, to just bring all the tentacles together into just like this big amorphous blob, as she basically uses the energy to launch herself at Kyorichio, and uses the ring around her to turn her hand into some. Okay, oh my god, I didn't realise exactly what was going on here. She uses it to turn her hand into a drill, which in turn creates like this giant claw of kinetic energy that just blasts at Kyorichio, but Kyorichio uses his steel spider to trap her hand, so it's just basically like a stalemate, and it just gets this big ball of explosion which blasts them both back along the room, as Kyorichio was able at the last minute to create a hanging Guzo steel spider web, obviously to break his fall in this case. But I assume that the other technique, which is paralyzed bomb, would be Futaba's technique. So pretty interesting techniques that we're getting here from both of them, because they both know each other, being the oldest siblings. They know each other, so they know how they fight, and they both got counters to each other in that sense. Okay, my mistake. I didn't actually look into this. So it seems like, from what I'm seeing here, that the techniques that we used just then were from Nanano and Shion, which would make a lot more sense now that I've had a look at it. But the funniest line here comes from Futaba. She's like, quick wrecking the ship so much. It's like, Futaba, you're just as guilty of doing this as well. But we see her just we see her just using her kinetic energy as well to just kind of get a stabilization and also to break out of the steel spider web. As we see, her blooming has already been activated, so she's already using her magnemeter blooming. So to give us a recap on what her blooming actually is that it's the blooming ability that allows her to neutralize her opponent's attack. So basically it's just like the negate attack of the blooming techniques. Her kinetic energy is heightened to the maximum limit and combined with her nimble fingers in order to engulf her enemy's attacks, allowing them to neutralize it. So yeah, basically negate attack from Yu-Gi-Oh! To use Yu-Gi-Oh! Terms. And let me go on to what her actual technique can, because I believe she's already used some techniques from her blooming. If I can actually get to it, just bear with me. So let's go to techniques. So she has also the Dragon Flower Breath, Cherry Blossom Drain, Sleeping Dragon, Sinking Wind, First Gale of Spring. So I'm guessing that all the attacks that she can use with the blooming, which will be interesting to see them actually being used against Kyorichio and figuring out like, oh, how is he going to get counter to them? But yeah, essentially Kyorichio at this point has very little he can do about it, because if he can just tries to throw it through to her, she's going to be like, oh, blooming magnesium, negate attack, basically, because you see it just just her hands are using the kinetic energy to kind of like absorb the steel spider web. And she's like, oh, you really need to chill here, as she uses a technique called Jinpu Calm Gale, which okay, from what I can see here, this is basically like how you have the Ryatsu from Bleach, where anyone who's weakened to Ryatsu, to really strong Ryatsu, is basically forced to their knees. Kind of like when Aizen would force people to their knees, or when Yamato would force Nanao to her knees. But the most obvious example here is when Yuha in the Basby and Hashirou flashback, when he arrived, just basically dropped everyone to their knees. As you see it happening here with not just Nano but Kyorichio as well. Like, Kyorichio is actually physically struggling against this, or it could be the fact that she's using an earthquake, but it's also like magnetized, so like it's forcing, so like it's earthquake that's just forcing them into the ground. But at the same time, the fact that Kyorichio is struggling with them shows just how deadly this technique actually is, because Kyorichio, like I've been saying, even if people don't like him, fact is, he's the strongest out of the Yozakura family. Like, undeniably the strongest Yozakura sibling. So the fact that even he is struggling against this technique shows just how much of a threat it actually is to them. And hey, if they got them back on their side, it would be a really useful ability. So after we see Kyorichio and Nanano basically struggling really hard against this technique, you see like a tidal wave of energy just circulating around the ship, as you get through to that asking the question we've all wanted answering ever since blooming was a thing. You want me to stop right now? You'll have to use your blooming. So yeah, Kyorichio, if there was ever a time to use it blooming, it would be at this point. But Kyorichio being Kyorichio, gives us just like the most vague of vague hits ever. If I do, everyone here will be collateral damage. My blooming is something I will only use on him, no one else. Him referring to Momo, which, okay, yeah, if there was, okay, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, come on, Kyorichio, you're struggling here, activate it already. But I digress. Like I said, Kyorichio's blooming has been like one of the big mysteries of Yozakura family, right up there with like what is that? What is that group? What is that shadowy figure? Are we going to see the uncles? Obviously, that's a big question that I want. Are we going to see the aunts and uncles? What was the family like before Tsubumi? Like, it had to have come from somewhere. Like, which other characters have a blooming? Because there is the theory that the gold rank sprites have bloomings themselves, because it might be the case of like, it's not just the head that can give out bloomings. Any of the siblings can do it, just on a not as strong, or maybe not be able to activate the 1,000 profuse uses blooming. Also, there was some other one. There was some other ones. There was some other questions like, oh, actually, like, does Reen have a blooming? Because it seems like that might be a case if Reen actually does get reintroduced into the story. But also as well, like Momo, we need to know what his blooming is. She does have a blooming. It's confirmed. It's confirmed that she does have a blooming. So it would be interesting to find out what exactly her blooming is. I mean, I know it has something to do with the chimera DNA that she has, like whether she can actually transform at will into like a Goliath-like state, but. I digress. Kyorichio's blooming is, I think, one of the most anticipated questions in the series. Right up there with like, oh, what was Aiza's Bonkai in Bleach, or what was Shuzui's Bonkai in Bleach, or what's the One Piece like? Just using some obvious examples here, but yeah. And again, I'm one of the people like, okay, yeah, Kyorichio, what is your blooming? I've got a theory of my own. I'm sure Pie-Jam's going to bring up his theory of like what Kyorichio's blooming actually is, but my theory is that it's an extension of the steel spider, except it says collateral damage to everyone. So my guess is like his steel spider at that point can absorb not just people's like not just people's I'm just trying to figure out a way it says. Okay, so say he's fighting Momo and he activates his blooming. It would be like his steel spider can get energy from other people's powers and abilities, and not only that, from like their skin. So like it gravitates onto their skin, and it kind of does, I would say, the Cell effect from Dragon Ball. Like I know I've seen the clip of when Cell drains that person's fluid. I assume that's what might actually happen with Kyorichio's blooming, or the fact that he could take the hairs of people, like take the hairs of their skin, of their head as well, and use that as steel spider. There's just so many different possibilities of what his blooming actually could be. Like, it's driving us all crazy, but at the same time, but at the same time, even if you're not going to use it on Momo, now would be a good time to use it Kyorichio. But of course, the real reason why Kyorichio doesn't want to activate blooming is that he says, okay, even though I've attacked you, Futaba, this is not my fight, because lucky enough, I have been blessed with highly talented siblings. So finally, Kyorichio is finally giving them the respect that they deserve, as it shows that Shion's droids and Nano are about to enter the battlefield. And this is what I've loved most about this arc, is the fact that, okay, yeah, we're going to rescue the siblings, but the big guns like Kyorichio and Tail, they're not the ones that are going to focus on the rescue. It's going to be the ones that you wouldn't expect to be frontline fighters, like Shion, Nanano, and Kengo. They're not frontline fighters. Like even Futaba brings that up. Like, are you serious? Like, these two are going to take me on. One of the top fighters, a gold rank spy member, and a frontline fighter. These two are just work from the sidelines. They're the backup, they're the support, and they're going to be brought into the forefront. And Kyorichio's just like, they are, because this is their fight. It's their chance to shine. Just in the same way we've had Kengo's fight and his chance to shine, even though it's probably going to end in disaster for him, and it's more than likely going to end in disaster for these two as well. As we have Nano saying, weeping Qmits take advantage of what is around it to work. At its core, it has a lot in common with Shion's info and my chemistry. Yeah, Futaba, you're stupidly strong, but you're also just playing stupid. I'd say on my toe. I'd stay on my toes if I were you, because the two of us are very smart. Yet even though they're physically the weakest ones, alongside Kengo, strategically they are the smartest. They are the smarts. They are the brains of the whole Yozakura operation. So they might be able to figure out a way around all of this without Futaba being able to suspect anything. And the chapter ends with both of them, Shion and Nanano, activating their bloomings. So, well, we've got a three-way battle of bloomings happening again. Now, let's just quickly go over what Nano's blooming was. Was it a simulation? No, that's Kengo's. Analysis. That's Shion's. Got so many adaptation. That would be it. Yeah, adaptation. So. Oh my god, I've just realised something. Adaptation, assimilation, analyzation. The 3A bloomings. Pretty much intentional there if that was the case. But yeah, the three bloomings that begin with A that are coming into the forefront here. So, if I can get past this ad, there we go. So yeah. Nano's blooming, which allows him to make all poisons and environments adaptable. So it might be adapting, like they might actually be like, okay, we're gonna analyze Futaba's mind, and you're gonna adapt to it, Nano. So that's probably what they're gonna go on here. It allows him to absorb and purify opponents' poisons and gases, and the ability was created by combining Nano's Simonian and his immunity ability. So the ability was created due to Nano having to adapt to his body, having it being mutated, and it creates spores in and around Nano's bodies, and these spores are able to absorb and purify any dangerous substance it comes into contact with. So yeah, it's probably going to be the case of just like, okay, the substance that Momo has Futaba under control is probably going to be absorbed and nullified by Nano's techniques there, and is blooming. But at the same time, Momo's probably got a plan for that as well, and in the same way that he's probably got a plan for Shion's blooming, which is analyzation, which is allowing her to understand data at a quick speed. So she's probably going to be like, okay, the data on what's going on here between Futaba and Momo, I've got that quickly analysed. But at the same time, it's probably going to be a case of that's like, oh, Momo's probably going to put a block or a firewall in order to block out Shion's blooming from being utilised here. But at the same time, Shion's blooming is one of the ones that we know the least about. So it'll be interesting to see like, what it can actually do in this situation. In the same way, like Nano's, we might be able to see what that can do in this situation. But at the same time, I feel like this is all going to fail, and Momo is actually going to get all three of them, maybe at the cost of losing Futaba and Shinzo. We'll just have to wait and see on that front. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.